died in New York.
I just watched Watchmen.
So I liked 300 and I fucking loved V for Vendetta. So when I heard The Watchmen was coming out, my ears definitely pricked up a bit. When the trailer came out and Rorschach says,
The world will look up and shout, save us. And I'll whisper, no.
I was pretty fucking keen to find out why that ink-faced guy hated humans so much. However, for some reason, as the movie's release date approached, my interest just waned, and I never did end up hitting the cinemas to see it. I tried a bit later on DVD, but...
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Damn it! To be honest, the movie just bored me to tears, and I ended up just turning it off.
You want another slice?
No, I'm okay.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's do what else.
Where's the TV guy?
But now that I'm a world-famous reviewer...
I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
That's right, ladies. I figured I should give it another crack, so here's my scathing review of Watchmen. So let me just say up front, there were things to like about this movie. It's well shot, the acting is fine, the story basically made sense. I'm assured it's very faithful to the source material, which is something I can really respect. The effects were okay, and as usual, Zack Snyder produces some eye-popping slow-mo visuals. Dr. Manhattan, Rorschach, and the comedian were all interesting characters with pretty good backstories, and the violence was gruesome, the action was well covered. Hell, they brought Snyder back to do Batman vs. Superman after this, so he must have done something right? Right?
Having said that, I do have some thoughts.
But as usual, Zack Sniveler and his little fanboy sensibilities managed to botch what should have been a really interesting and fresh take on the superhero genre. He once again applied his drab, morose outlook to every single character, leaving very little for us to like.
Is that guy in the space rocket? Is that Jesus? No, baby.
Reportedly, Zack Snoozer was firm with the studio that if he was going to take on the Watchmen film, it'd have to be R-rated. And as admirable as that sentiment is, in the hands of Zack Snorer, Watchmen comes off like a teenager trying to create something that's all adult-like to impress his fucking parents.
You know what, big boy? You're grown up. You're grown up. Yeah!
Zack Snyder's version of Grown Up seems to consist mostly of having the girls show their boobies, having the radioactive Smurf go cock out, and keeping in the unnecessarily brutal rape scene. Hey, Mummy and Daddy, look how mature I am! Yes, little Zachy, you're all grown up. I guess the movie just straddles a weird line between realism and this hyper-realistic comic book world in which it's set. It covers issues as obscurely grounded as erectile dysfunction in costumed heroes,
You take the blue pill.
or the love-rape relationship between women and roguelike men, while also including a character who can transform into a giant or transport himself to Mars on a whim. And not to mention Rorschach's mask, which seems to have this inexplicable moving ink trapped inside it somehow. Not only does it continuously move, except in this scene, but it remains perfectly symmetrical and seems to maintain a fairly face-like appearance at all times. There's just utterly no way this would be achievable in the real world, so you'd think a little expert... Ah, well, go figure, eh? Anyway, it's just an unfocused mess. Everything just feels irrelevant and haphazard, and having it tie up with a bunch of convoluted twists and red herring reveals just didn't work for me. I just felt like I'd been left out of the real story the whole time.
Another comic book villain.
And speaking of which, this real story, once it's finally revealed, is where I find most of my problem with the film anyway. Because it turns out that all the disconnected events in the film have essentially been puppet mastered by one of the Watchmen to implement a diabolical villainous plan to blow up most of the major cities of the world. This dude is supposedly the most intelligent man on the planet, but is he? Is he really? He claims that killing tens of millions of people and blaming Dr. Manhattan is the only way to unite humanity and all wars. Well, excuse me, Osmandius, or whatever your fucking name is, but is that really your plan A? Did you look at any other options, man? Come on, you're smart, right? How about getting Dr. Manhattan to simply, I don't know, disable all nuclear weapons before going all supervillain on us? Did you even ask him? But it's not just the implausibility of his plan that bothers me, it's the way it subverts the movie's message. When you think about it, isn't it just a retread of the tired notion that killing millions is the only way to save the planet? A message I seem to notice more and more in popular entertainment these days. You know, turn the music off for a second. Fuck ranting. You know, I'm quite frankly sick to death of seeing this message over and over again in popular culture. And even more, I'm tired of hearing my friends regurgitate it to me ad nauseum as if it's accepted scientific fact. Watchmen tells the story of the most intelligent man on earth finding a way to finally end all wars by killing tens of millions of people to unite them behind a common enemy. It's the same old mantra uttered by Ronald Reagan years ago. I sometimes wonder what would happen if we were facing a threat from outside this world. And the worst thing is this movie even tells you that it's going to work. The bad guy completes his plan, the heroes fail, and it's portrayed as a happy ending. It's just another bullshit justification for mass genocide. Predictive programming 101. These movies. Can't you see they're just the elites having conversations amongst themselves? I'm not talking conspiracy here. I'm not saying it's code or whatever. They're just plain saying it out loud, including us in their ridiculous psychotic ruminations so they can later claim we were complicit in the decisions they make. Believe what you will, but you know these movies are expensive. There's serious coin behind them. You know all about studio interference and control. Why do you think it's always a negative influence on the final product? Why are the studio execs not improving things? It's because they want to get their fucking messages in. That's why. They know that if they repeat their bullshit justifications often enough, we'll start to believe them. Repetition is the first and most effective tool of mass mind control, and don't you forget it. Yeah, I know you don't believe in a controlling elite, right? That's fine. That's fine. But then you're probably not listening very well to Alan Moore, who said, I believe the power should be given to the people whose lives this is actually affecting. It's no longer good enough to have a group of people who are controlling our destinies. The only reason they have the power is because they control the currency. They have no moral authority, and indeed, they show the opposite of moral authority. That's Alan Moore for you. You see, they know how this works. They know they've done it before, their families, their ancestors. They've built empires and torn them down time and time again. It's what the history books are filled with. They know this empire will eventually crumble. So they're shifting the blame. That's why you see this message repeated in every major movie. From Agent Smith's speech to Morpheus in The Matrix, to the aliens hating their creations in Prometheus, to lower budget movies like Snowpiercer, in which Ed Harris delivers an epic anti-human monologue right at the end of the movie. Over and over again, they're drilling it into you. You're a scum. You're a savage. Left to your own devices, you'd eventually start randomly raping and killing your neighbors. Is that really what you believe about your own species? Is it what you believe about yourself? And even if you are convinced of that, don't you think we ought to strive for something better? Humans are amazing, beautiful creatures, and I'll be damned if I let anyone convince me we're a planet-wide virus worthy of extermination. We're not cattle to be culled. It's the rich psychopaths at the top that plan the wars and condition us to become mindless consumers, depressed, uncreative, and productive only for the corporate machine that has sprung from the embers of their bullshit propaganda. Think about how they get us to sign up for the military and go to war. They do it with hatred and lies, none of which is consistent with our experience as human beings. We're creative. Do you understand what that means? We create stuff. Isn't that something only gods are supposed to do? You know who can't create? The psychopathic oligarchs and technocrats who dominate our world and our media through covert means with their inbred family trees and syphilitic-brained lack of empathy. Look into it. This is who is running the show. They're not interdimensional reptiles or evil aliens. Hell, they're not even a cohesive, organized group. But I can understand why people subscribe to that belief system, because they are different from us. They have evolved without natural diversity and their minds are sick, unable to feel human emotion or empathy. It makes them capable of doing things we can barely even contemplate. That's why they rose to the top in the first place. They need us to create for them, because what we do is a miracle and they fucking know it. Human beings take the little bits of light being miraculously to us by our sun, and we rearrange and manifest that energy into the world in whatever way we see fit. We can make something amazing, full of love, community, and beauty. So yes, the elites control and manipulate us into making a world that advantages them. But in the end, the choice and responsibility is ours. Just ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in tomorrow? And then start making it today. Watchmen, 2.5 stars for fucking whatever.